All right, our first video for review is on fungi, and there isn't a whole lot on our exam from this. There are actually only 5 questions about fungi, so we're going to go through it pretty quickly. Our first things that we looked at were characteristics of fungi. They're decomposers, they're sessile, they have cell walls made of chitin, but despite their similarities to plants, which are actually kind of few, they have more in common with animals. One of the things that they have in common with animals is the method of feeding, and that they need an outside source of food where plants make their own food, and that is huge in the overall functioning of the organism. So we say fungi are more similar to animals than they are to plants. They feed in the same way that animals do, but they have cell walls in the same way that plants do. Then if we take a closer look at our fungi, we saw 3 different kinds. So if you see it talking about mushrooms or yeast or mold, those are examples of fungi. Oops. Then we went into talking about the structure of the fungus. One of the things that you need to know for your test is this structure here, where we have the hyphae and the mycelium. So hyphae were these thread-like structures, and when you put all those thread-like structures together, you get the mycelium, which is primarily underground. The mushroom that we see, this is a picture of a mushroom here. The mushroom is just the temporary reproductive structure, so it's not there all the time, but the hyphae and the mycelium are really what makes up a fungus. Let's see. Then we went into this life cycle here of a fungus. You do not have anything on your test about the life cycle of the fungus, except it does want you to be able to recognize some words. So when we go from diploid and haploid, and we're making these things called spores, how do those spores spread? They're going to spread by wind. Let's see. All right. Fungi are decomposers. They have to absorb organic materials from around them. Sometimes they can be toxic. Sometimes they can be good. And then here we go. Our last thing is our mycorrhizal interactions with plants. So these are the root hairs sticking out of a plant. And on those root hairs, when the hyphae come up and get close to those root hairs, remember the hyphae absorb nutrients, and they've got this symbiotic then or mutualistic relationship. The plant is going to get nitrogen and phosphorus from the hyphae, and then the fungus can get sugars from the plant. And in those relationships, we saw this graph that in plants that have a mycorrhizal relationship with the fungus, they grow better than plants that do not have a mycorrhizal relationship. So here's the one down here with no mycorrhizal parents. And that is it for fungi.